Welcome to Run, Jump, Stomp, a podcast about games because we needed another. You can find the show notes for this episode as well as other content at runjumpstomp.com. This is episode 24 for the week of July 21st, 2015, and this week we'll be talking about how WoW is going to have a few mercenaries. League of Legends bug caused a suspension in ranked play, the Commodore is making a comeback, and it looks like a Batman fix is a long way off. Those stories and more on this week of Run, Jump, Stomp. Thanks for listening. One of my least favorite things about playing massively multiplayer games is waiting for other players. Often, you have to do it. If you want to do a dungeon, you have to wait for other players. We call it waiting for the queue to pop. Okay? If you want to run PvP, you join the queue and you wait until a number of people from each side is put together and then you get to fight. Well, in World of Warcraft, for a long time, this problem has been compounded even further because you can't be on the same team with people of the opposite faction. So, let's say that you want a queue for player versus player combat. You can only be put on a team of people who are also in the Alliance if you're an Alliance character. And if you're on the Horde side, then you can only be put on a team with Horde players. This made putting groups together take longer than it needs to. And Blizzard is finally, after 10 years, going to be addressing that. They say, keep your friends close and your enemies closer, and soon you'll be able to do just that. In an upcoming patch, we'll be adding a feature that allows you to act as a mercenary for the opposite faction. So what does this mean? It means that if you're on the Alliance side, you can say, oh, look, they need Horde players right now, so I'm going to click on mercenary, and it will allow me to fight on their team. Now, one of the issues that Blizzard has always had with this way to play is that they wanted to preserve that feeling of being at war with the other faction. And that's difficult to do if you can freely switch back and forth. The way that they're handling this is that when you click mercenary, it actually temporarily changes your race to an appropriate race from the other side. So for instance, on the Horde side, you can play as a Tauren. Tauren are like these big cow people. Honestly, I think they're the coolest race in the game. I think they look fantastic. But as an Alliance player, I don't want to see Tauren on my team. And I don't want to fight Tauren as a Horde player. That breaks the illusion of this war that's supposed to be going on. So the way that Blizzard is getting around that is I queue up and it switches me into a Tauren, and now I look like I'm a Horde side Tauren, and to everybody except for me, there's no difference. It looks exactly the same. As far as anybody else is concerned, I am just another Tauren Horde side player. And that's a great thing because it preserves that illusion of the war without, while allowing the queue times to be shorter. Another reason why this is important is because Blizzard has done a really great job with silhouettes. It's easy to tell what race and class you are often up against if you're experienced at the game. You can usually tell the race and class just by their silhouette because that's why their armor in World of Warcraft is so chunky. If anybody has seen the poster for the Warcraft movie, you probably also saw a fan had... Whoops, I forgot to shut my phone off. Sorry about that. Very unprofessional. But a fan had edited it to make the shoulders on the character look really big because in World of Warcraft, the shoulders, as far as armor goes, are very exaggerated. And this is so you can easily pick it out as a silhouette from far away when you're playing in PvP. It's a really cool thing. And changing somebody's race temporarily allows you to continually be looking at those silhouettes without having things changed on you. So I think that all in all, this is a really good thing, and it's a shame that it took Blizzard so long to do it. One of the best things about Guild Wars 2 is that everybody on the server is on the same side. So there is no Horde versus Alliance for that. It's server versus server instead. The only MOBA that I've ever played is Heroes of the Storm. It's a Blizzard game. Now, they didn't invent the genre. Somebody else invented it. It was called Dota, Defense of the Ancients. And Dota was actually a mod to Warcraft 3, which is a Blizzard game. I played the original Dota like twice. I didn't know what I was doing, and at the time, you know, it was because it was a mod, there was very little that would explain what the goal of the game was. That, like, the game didn't teach you how to play, and so I lost interest fairly quickly. And I never tried, and I didn't try another MOBA for a really long time, mostly because when I tried the first one, you know, I had a bunch of people yelling at me, and I didn't find that interesting or something that I'd want to deal with. Now, I know that Blizzard is good at teaching people how to play, so the next one that I played is Heroes of the Storm, and I love that game. Now, I'm telling you all this because everything that I know about MOBAs, which is Multiplayer Online Battle Arena, is based on my playing of Heroes. So I've never played League of Legends, but apparently they had this huge bug, and because of the bug, pardon me, they had to actually shut down ranked games. So the way that the game works is each team has a base, and they have to defend that base and attack the other team's base. And between the bases are different lanes where players can go down and either engage in battle with other players or fight NPCs for XP and gold or loot. So when you are fighting, you'll deplete your resources. Maybe you're running low on health, or you run out of mana. If you recall back to your base, you will regenerate that stuff very quickly, and then you can get back into the fight. The issue was that usually this recall to base is a casted spell that you have to wait through the cast bar. So you push the button, and it starts to fill up this bar, and when the bar fills up, you teleport back to base. While you're doing that, you're vulnerable to attack. Somebody could come over and hit you. The bug started out with this one character, Riven, and apparently it spread to other characters, and the way that the bug worked was it was almost an instant cast. So instead of giving you that vulnerability that you would get from casting the spell, you could escape a fight that you were losing and go back to base, heal up, and then head back out. And this isn't the way the game is intended to be played. They originally posted, "We're currently working on working to fix a bug with the recall spell. Unfortunately, this particular issue can't be mitigated by disabling a specific champion or item, so we've temporarily disabled ranked while we develop a solution." And ranked was actually down for about a day and a half. It doesn't look like it hurt the game too badly. It's still the #1 game on Twitch, and it's still played more than pretty much any other game there is. It's just interesting to see how quickly a little tiny bug like this can get out of hand. My first computer was a Commodore 64. I got it for Christmas, and I used to go down to a little shop that was a few streets over from my house and buy a magazine. I don't remember the name of the magazine, but in the back of the magazine was code in BASIC that you could type into your computer, and it would give you a game. So that was my main source of games for a long time, was typing in the actual code from the computer for the game, and then fixing any typos that I made, and then pressing run. So this story is hilarious and near and dear to my heart. Commodore is making a smartphone that runs classic games. So apparently this smartphone is going to come in two versions, a 32 gig version and a 16 gig version. Both of them will have a 5.5 inch screen and will have a 1.7 gigahertz processor, and will have 4G connectivity. They'll both have front and rear facing cameras. And both can be operated using a dedicated button on the phone's edge. So they'll have a button on the side like the Samsung Note 2 and the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. This is really weird. I don't see them really getting anywhere. I do want one of these just for nostalgia purposes. But I think they'd be better off just making an app that you could and selling it. I could be wrong though. Maybe they'll surprise everybody and it will be a hit. I'm curious. It doesn't say which operating system it's running. Are they making their own, or is it running Android? If you're waiting for Arkham Knight to be fixed, you could be waiting a while. For those of you that don't know, the PC version of Arkham Knight has been... they stopped sales and have pulled it off shelves, and it is no longer being sold on Steam or Green Man Gaming. In fact, people are now able to return the game. Apparently, there's a leaked email. Now, a leaked email is a pretty easy thing to fake, but apparently an internal email was sent to EB Games staff members, and it reads as the following. As previously advised, we have stopped sales of Batman Arkham Knight for the PC, while Warner and Rocksteady worked on addressing performance issues with the game. The latest information from Warner is that updates won't be available until spring. Now, just so you know, spring, if you are in the southern hemisphere, then that is fine for you. But if you're in the northern hemisphere, then they're talking about southern hemisphere spring. So our fall. So what we're looking at is a couple months before this game gets fixed. Now, the game has already been out for a month, and we're still looking at another couple months before it's fixed. That's pretty rough. This kind of lends credence to the rumor that an anonymous tester said that all the issues that we were seeing now, they were seeing up to a year ago, exactly the same issues. And I really don't think that they planned on fixing things, but Steam started allowing returns, and everybody else started allowing returns, meaning that they were losing money, so they had to fix it. I'm wondering, when they do get it fixed, is it going to sell, though? Or if they get it fixed. Let's just assume that they do the right thing and they are able to get it fixed. Are gamers going to trust them enough to buy it? And those gamers who really wanted the Arkham Knight, maybe they will have already bought it for consoles, because on consoles it's running fine and it's getting fantastic reviews. It's just on the PC where things aren't working very well. So I'm curious if people are going to either get it elsewhere or write it off. Gamers are notoriously impatient. So by the time it comes out and it's fixed, I wonder if it's going to sell. A few months back, Bethesda and Valve kind of teamed up and were trying to sell mods for games for a profit, of course. Now, the way that it worked out was that the modders would get 25% of the sale, Valve would take 30% of the sale, and Bethesda would take 45% of the sale. And a lot of people were unhappy with that breakout. It seemed like they were getting paid for nothing. Or it seemed like, why would they bother to do a good job making a game if modders could fix it for them and then they could be paid for the fixes that they didn't do? Let me give you an example. Skyrim has a terrible user interface. It's a fantastic game. I love it. I bought it twice. I bought it once on the Xbox 360, and then I bought it again on the PC when it went on sale. It's a great game. Highly recommend it. The user interface is terrible. Now, that user interface being terrible was fixed by modders. Now, what is there to motivate Bethesda to do a good job on a user interface if they could do a crappy job, save a bunch of time, save a bunch of money, put the game out, let modders fix the UI, and then take 45% of the cut that goes to the modder? That doesn't seem like a very good system. And a lot of people were very upset about that. And so upset, in fact, that eventually Valve pulled the paid mods down, and then they made a statement, it's become clear we don't exactly know what we're doing. Now, Bethesda's Pete Hines ended up talking to GameSpot, I almost said GameStop, ended up talking to GameSpot about this particular issue. And he said, I think our stance is that we're going to reevaluate it going forward. I think we feel that there is a case to be made that people who spend a lot of time working on mods ought to be able to have a way of monetizing what they're doing. And I agree with that. They should be able to monetize it. I don't think Bethesda should be able to monetize it. Now, they say, certainly he went on to say, certainly some of the folks that we talked to were very interested in and supportive of the idea. We had creators that said, I've been asking for donations for years and never saw anything. And I made more in one day. Why wouldn't I support that? All those issues about the split, he then addressed. He said, is it the right split? There's valid arguments for being more, less, or the same. Bethesda said, he said back in April. But if you think about it, then he said, our belief is we made the game. We made the game. You're making a thing for it. By a thing, he means a mod. So there should be some benefit to us for you modding it. I just think 45% is ridiculous. Honestly, I think 90% should go to the modders and 5% to Bethesda and Valve. Bethesda shouldn't make a big profit from modders fixing their game for them, fixing something that they should have fixed ahead of time. So it looks like Bethesda is still looking to do the paid mods. Now, with Fallout 4 coming out, a lot of people might be worried that they're going to try it with Fallout 4. He says, honestly, I genuinely don't know what it means for the future. It was an idea we worked on with those guys for Skyrim. It didn't pan out, so it came back down. And then he said, honestly, we have bigger fish to fry right now than sorting that out. So it looks like it's not going to be part of Fallout 4. I wonder if it will be part of the next Elder Scrolls game. This next story is about Guild Wars 2, but I'm going to start out by talking about WildStar, because one of the things that I love about WildStar is ship hand missions. And for all intents and purposes, these are single-player dungeons. They're fun, but they don't depend on other people, so you don't have to wait around for people. And if you're decent at them, they don't take very long. So that's great on all parts. Now, it looks like Guild Wars 2 is taking a page from, I don't want to say their competition, because I think the NCSoft owns ArenaNet, and NCSoft makes WildStar, and ArenaNet makes Guild Wars 2, so I think they're really partners. I'm not positive, though. They're going to be giving players the same thing. They're calling them adventures, and the differences, the differences don't really stop there. So it is a single-player dungeon, basically. but it's also meant to be competitive. So they're going to have leaderboards for completing the adventures in the shortest amount of time. Quote, each adventure showcases a seemingly simple path to victory that requires strategy, practice, and mastery in order to excel and ultimately achieve success. Okay, so then they talk a little bit about the design philosophy behind adventures. There are certain design concepts that are critical to the adventure experience. Most importantly, when you are participating in an adventure, you should be the master of your own density. Density? What am I, George McFly? The master of your own destiny. This means that no other player should have a direct impact on your success or failure. Any adventure that involves combat with monsters has been instanced. And then he goes on to talk about more. This is a fundamental part of what makes ship hand missions in WildStar so awesome. I don't mind grouping with other people. In fact, it's my favorite part of MMOs, but when I only have 15 or 20 minutes to play, or maybe 20 to 30 minutes to play, spending 10 minutes waiting around for other people is not something that I want to do. Being able to do something quickly, get in and get out, especially as I get older and have less time to play games, is a very important thing. He then talks a little bit more. He says, additionally, we've been keen on reducing unpredictable randomness in our adventures. Where something may seem random at first, we encourage you to pay closer attention to the underlying patterns and systems with which you are engaging. So this is great. This is a game mode that depends on getting the fastest time possible, or like the highest score possible, something like that. And in order to do that, it's all about practice and getting the timing right. And dealing with random stuff when you're doing something like that can seem really, really unfair. Okay, we call it RNG, or random number generator, and I think it's I can't think of his name. He's a Guild Wars 2 guy. Matt Visual. Matt Visual says he calls it RNGesus. All right, so you pray to the RNGesus that you're going to get a good roll on this random number generator so that you don't get screwed over when trying to do something. So this is really fantastic that they're taking the randomness out. It's going to be the same every time, but that just means that instead of that what you're focusing on isn't reacting to play, it's honing your play and making sure that you're doing this a little bit faster than the last time. Then he went on to say, quote, finally, we believe in rapid iteration, including the ability to quit and restart quickly, is another key aspect of the adventure experience. If for whatever reason you want to restart on an adventure early, you can close out your adventure, hit the restart button, and be teleported back to the beginning of the adventure. We understand that if you're trying to earn a place on the leaderboard where execution is key and every second counts, the downtime between attempts should be as short as possible. This is very important. I'm really happy about this. One of my favorite games is Super Crate Box, and if you haven't tried it, you definitely should. But the best thing about the game is that the amount of time from death to starting another round is literally less than a second. It gives you that one more try vibe over and over. And I do the same thing on, let's say I'm playing Mario Golf. If I got to do 18 holes and I get to the third hole and I get a bogey or a double bogey on it, I just start the whole thing over because I want to get the best score possible. And so what he's saying here is if you know that you've screwed up, it's kind of disheartening to try and finish the whole thing knowing that you're not going to beat your score or get a good time because you made a mistake early on. So you just hit a button and you start right over at the beginning, and that's fantastic. He went on to say, in addition to bragging rights, the leaderboards will also provide you with sweet rewards. Each leaderboard can yield a daily participation reward, but the meat of the loot is at the top. Each board has 3 tiers, think gold, silver, and bronze, that require a certain minimum score or maximum time to enter. Upon entry in those tiers, you will be rewarded for your efforts. Honestly, I think this is fantastic, and now the question is, are they going to save this for Heart of Thorns? Does it come out before Heart of Thorns, or is it not quite finished and does it come out after Heart of Thorns? This week, the long play is actually the short play, and that's because we installed a new shower in the house this week, and that took loads of time, so I didn't get to play anything new. What I did play was some Guild Wars 2, working on my Elementalist, leveling him up. I think I'm around 45 or so. Really enjoying that profession. It's very, very fun, and it's really got me going. It got me excited for the expansion. Also, I've been playing Sky Factory 2, and some friends and I are working on our own mod pack for Minecraft. I'll let you know when there's more information, but basically the pack is going to be focused on exploration and technology. So it'll be a lot like Sky Factory, but down on the ground. And we thought, well, let's just try Sky Factory on the ground. And it's just way too overpowered because you have access to too many things that generate that are normally hard to get in Sky Factory that are very easy to get on the ground. And then in Sky Factory, there's ways to get things that try and make Sky Factory easier. But on the ground, those things are unnecessary, and it just makes the game feel way overpowered, and it's too easy to play. So we're looking at doing something like that, and when we get more information, I'll have it for you. This week, we'll be adding Guild of Dungeoneering to the wish list. This game is a turn-based dungeon crawler with a twist. Instead of controlling the hero, you're building the dungeon around him. So you've got this hero, and then you collect cards, and the cards can have rooms on them, monsters or traps and loot, and you put down the cards. I'm not sure how the mechanics work really, but you play the cards like it's a card game, and it builds the dungeon around your hero. And then the hero goes through and defeats things in the dungeon to get the loot. It sounds very cool. It's $14.99 on Steam, and it just came out on the 14th. It's getting relatively good reviews on Steam, and it's got a Metacritic of 82. That doesn't mean it's a good game. That just means that most reviewers liked it. I don't really put numbers in, put much. I don't put a lot into a score. It just tells me whether or not I should bother to read the reviews. So, but if you look at the reviews that it's getting, it's generally people are enjoying it. So definitely check out Guild of Dungeoneering on Steam. Well, that is it for the show this week. If you want to support the show, you can do so with a review on iTunes. If you want to be part of the show, you can email me at runjumpstomp@gmail.com, or you can call 260-RUN-JUMP. That's 260-786-5867. You can also find me on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube at runjumpstomp. As always, thanks for listening. And this week, I've got a song called Player 2 from Tony Lays. Follow the link in the show notes to check out his SoundCloud page. It's a really good chiptunes focused song. Hope you enjoy it. And as always, thanks for watching, listening, watching, listening.